This is Infection, the survival podcast recorded live on Tuesday, March 24th, 2020, episode 271. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to another episode of Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. Bring you the latest news, reviews, updates, and more each and every week. My name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. And of course, visit our website. It's infectionpodcast.com. Well, while everybody's world is crashing, so is ours, as we are fighting through technical issues to bring you a show. But I'll tell you what, Brian, no matter what, there's a couple givens in life, right? Taxes, death.
Well, taxes it's going to be really late too, so I guess
it's going to be late, but it's a given. And then,
but it happens.
Infection podcast, most Tuesday nights at 7.
And if it's not a Tuesday night, it might be a Wednesday or it might be a Monday, but it will happen. So
yeah, I mean,
it has happened 271 times,
unfortunately,
at least. Well, if you want to find me, you can find me at Boise Computer on Twitter, or you can check out my blog, biteoftech.com. But I would really encourage you to go to our website, infectionpodcast.com, and you'll notice on the right-hand side, there's a button that says Join Our Server on Discord. And if you do that, you can go on there, and it has a mobile app. They have a web-based app if you don't want to install anything, or you can use the desktop client. And it has a totally free service. It's really good for a chat client. They have audio, video. You can do screen sharing. It's pretty crazy what all they offer for not charging a penny. So if you want to help submit news throughout the week, you want to play some of the games of the week, things that we do, all of those are available on the Discord. And we also, if you happen to be, like you just heard there, someone who's subscribed, you get a special rank in there and lots of other perks. So make sure you join us on Discord. If you want to get a notification, maybe you'll be home the next couple of weeks. If you want to get a notification before the live show starts, you can join us live. You can join our Steam group. And that will pop up a little notification about 10, 15 minutes before we go live on the show. And you're able to jump in and end up joining in the chat, join in the game giveaway, just have a lot of fun with us during the live show. If you want to watch us live, you can do that through Twitch, through Mixer, also through YouTube. If you want to listen to the show after the fact, we have all of those available for whatever platform you happen to be using. And those are in podcast audio only forms. Those are the lower right-hand side of the website. Of course, the show notes. If you want to see maybe a video that you heard but you couldn't see, we'll have all of those links and different things that we discuss throughout the show available once the show is posted, and you can do that on our website. And then if you want to support us financially, hopefully, we're hoping that there will be a PAX this year, kind of playing it by ear at this point. But if you want to help us get there, you can do that by maybe through Amazon, amazon.infectionpodcast.com, or Humble Bundle, humble.infectionpodcast.com. Or as you heard, you can do a subscription through Twitch Prime, and that adds up throughout the year. We've had people that for years now have been supporting the show and submitting, giving us their Twitch Primes, and it has helped us go to PAX, 3 times now? So yeah, we thank you very much, and that's been amazing.
There's a Boston 2017, Seattle 2018, 2019, and then hopefully, fingers crossed,
Seattle 2020.
Seattle 2020, which who knows what that's going to bring.
I don't even know.
I do want to thank our friend Johnny Find hitting us up with the, well, listen to this, Brian, 22-month resubscription here on Twitch. Virus or no virus, I shall live. And there you go. That's come from our friend Johnny Fine, keeping the faith. And as I talked about on last week's program, there's obviously a lot going on in the world. There's no hiding it. It's no secret. But over the next hour and a half, 2 hours, we'll talk about some things in regarding to that. But if you're looking for us to completely have switched our programming line, it's just not going to happen. You know, I think everybody needs a break from what's going on, and hopefully we can be that break for you if it's just for 2 hours, because I know there's a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety across the entire world right now. So
a lot of negativity, but of course our show never negative.
Never. I mean, there is not a single point in time in which we have ever been negative about a video game developer, the people that work for that specific video game company. I literally, Brian, out of 271 weeks, I cannot think of a single time that we were harshly negative against one group or another.
Except for when random devs call us out and then are jerks to us
in their production meetings.
But,
yeah.
Or when Daybreak pretty much told people not to talk to us anymore. That was classy. That was good.
I enjoyed hearing back that in one of their like weekly staff meetings, they were like, "Yeah, please don't
talk to the Affection
get rid of
guys
all communication with Affection podcast needs to be severed." Pretty funny.
Oh, well, it was fun.
And guess who's around?
And who's still around? Sorry,
I'm just saying. All right, enough showboating. Brian, well, before we started the show here, when we started the show here a couple times, you mentioned that. I'm sorry, you mentioned that you went out and purchased an Xbox this week?
Yeah, so I went and got the Xbox One X.
Why?
And because I wanted to try some games, and I want to play them on a console.
The new Xbox is coming out in like 8 months.
I know, I'll get one of those too. Then I can have these. I can spread them out to different rooms.
Cash Money Aldridge. That's what it's looking like. Keep subscribing on Twitch. Brian an Xbox.
Now you know where there's no packs this year. I mean, might as well spend it on something.
I do want to thank our friend Govna, who I've been playing lots of Call of Duty with, for hitting us up with the 5-month resubscription here on Twitch. Thank you very much, Governor. We appreciate it. Okay, so what were you looking to play, and how much?
So I've been talking about wanting to play Sea of Thieves,
okay,
which I know I could play on the PC if I wanted to, but I know that type of game. Plus, I want to play with a friend of mine, so they have an Xbox, I have an Xbox, and I figured it'd be easiest. I have run into some weird things where some of the cross plays I haven't been able to do, like Destiny. Someone who's playing Destiny on an Xbox, I can't play with them on my PS4. And so I know they have some forms of crossplay there, but it's not true crossplay between consoles. So gotcha. I haven't had an Xbox since the 360.
A great console, one of the best.
Yeah, and well, mine's in a box, and it lasted a month, and then I made the mistake of opening it up and putting stuff on there, and then they wouldn't let me send it back.
Yeah, you avoided the warranty.
Yeah, I avoided the warranty. That was a mistake. Anyway, so it's still sitting in a box in my garage, which is lovely. I had 1 month use of it.
Yeah. Well, you had the first gen. There was issues with the first gen.
The heating on those were horrible.
Yeah, so they fixed it.
So it puts a bad taste in my mouth on Xbox, and so kind of just gone with PlayStation since then.
Well, speaking of Xbox and PlayStation, Sony in the past week didn't release their console, obviously, but released the specs for their console, Brian. And I'll tell you what. Pretty interesting, because if you take a look at the cross comparison, and I'll pull the image up here in a second. If you take a look at the cross comparison between these two systems, obviously the Xbox One X and the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 are both going to be the next gen of consoles that we're going to have here, and you can see the spec breakdown here. And while they're pretty similar in their CPU, the base clock on the Xbox Series X is a little bit higher. The GPU on the Xbox is got almost 2 teraflops more of processing than the PlayStation 5, as well as 52 CUs, which has got something to do with the processes or something like that. Same amount of memory. They both got the same amount. The memory bandwidth is comparable. They both have got the same 4K UHD Blu-ray drive, and the Xbox is
that's compute, and the C is the compute units.
Yes,
is the term,
which is like how fast I think things happen on the system itself. And then the Xbox has got a 1 terabyte NVMe. And the PlayStation's got an 825 gigabyte SSD, NVMe being a whole lot quicker than an SSD. And then on the Xbox, there's a room for a 1 terabyte expansion card. And on the PlayStation, there's actually an NVMe slot. So interesting, Brian, to see here that these terms, NVMe and things that you pretty much were only seeing in the PC market.
Yeah, high-end PC gaming.
Yeah, high-end. I mean, and I know, it's existed for years. I understand, but people don't build computers every 2 years. I think most people are on a 5-year life cycle for their PCs, which I was. And in 2015, you weren't buying an NVMe drive because they were, first of all, no motherboards had the support, and any that did, the NVMe drives were out freaking rageous. So, I mean, I just built my computer here 2 weeks ago, and I put 2 NVMe drives in it, and and I'm glad that both Microsoft and Sony are doing that. But I'll tell you what, Brian, across a side-by-side comparison, Xbox is eating Sony's lunch. And Sony had a very lackluster announcement because they did not show the device. They did not show gameplay. They just released stats. And Microsoft had already released their stats. And they released worse stats than Microsoft, and that was it.
So the one thing that I'm kind of curious about, that I'm wondering if it's going to affect it at all, I've talked about a while ago, Microsoft's console kind of being equivalent to a computer now. As far as probably the underlying code underneath it is running very similar code to what the actual PC is running. Versus you have the PlayStation, which is totally native to the PlayStation. They're not trying to do any kind of crazy cross compatibility. I'm wondering if there is a performance difference in that type of way of doing it, because we've made comments that it's amazing what how old the PlayStation currently are and the Xboxes, what they're able to do on that hardware. I'm wondering if Microsoft has to almost go a little bit bigger to maintain that kind of cross compatibility of not making the people that are making the games have to make 2 totally different clients, because they want to have it to where everything that's made on Xbox can be played on a PC. I mean, that's kind of their goal, is to make it to where the PC and the Xbox are both that console. I'm curious if that's performance wise is hurting them to where they're like, all right, well, for us to play the same level of games, put out that 4K, HD, everything looking the same between a PlayStation and Xbox, if they have to go a little bit more, or if you're actually going to notice it runs better, it's faster.
I think you will, because if you look at the specs between the Xbox One and PlayStation 4, the current generation consoles, the PlayStation is a far superior device. It's got the GPU is insanely better. It does almost double the teraflops. The Xbox has got DDR3 RAM, while the PlayStation 4 has got DDR5, which is a huge difference. And you notice it. I mean, I've got a PlayStation and an Xbox. Now, to be fair, I have a first-generation Xbox and a PS4 Slim, which is a little bit older, or a little bit newer than the original Xbox One. But you absolutely, and you've probably seen this now, you absolutely notice the snappiness of the PlayStation, and you have a PS4 Pro, which is even faster.
So I've got a Slim and a Pro, so I can, but the Pro I have on my 4K TV out front, just to, so it can run it at that. But performance wise, I mean, it's not like a night and day difference, but it does allow it to display at 4K. And maintain the same performance. I mean, I'm not noticing when it's running 4K and everything being at top settings that it runs slower. It runs just like the Slim does. Yeah,
and I think one of the biggest things you'll notice, O'Brien, is multitasking. When you're in a game and click the menu button and need to do something, that lag. And the Xbox One's got a significant amount of it. It is a slow system. Now, to be fair, it did come out in 2013, I think, is when these systems came out. These, I mean, you're talking about 7 or 8 year old consoles at this point. Well, since release date, they've been conceived since probably 2010. So you're looking at a 10-year-old console. So, your 10-year-old computer would be slow and sluggish as well.
You have it out the door by now.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and this is one thing. The one thing that I noticed the difference between the two is you have on a PlayStation, you push the menu button and it kind of takes you to the main screen and puts everything in the background.
Yeah.
It doesn't do that, and it's been the weird thing to kind of get used to on an Xbox is it brings up some side menu, and I'm like, well, I just want.
It brings you home.
Oh, does it? Okay, because
or if you hold, it's one or the other.
Yeah, and it just does a little bit different things. So I'm kind of getting used to it still.
Yeah.
But it has all these game passes, so I just figured I'll play some of the games that I've been wanting to try. Sea of Thieves, we talk about it a whole bunch. That seems really interesting to me, just to experience like how is the gameplay. How is it playing with friends, and we'll go from there. But I just figured I'd get one. Stuck home a lot now, so why not?
Now, where did you get it, and how much did you pay for it?
I went to Best Buy,
Okay.
which they don't allow you to go inside. So what I ended up having to do was, you drive to the parking lot. They ask you what you want to get. They check the stock of it, and then they'll go in there and get it for you, and you pay for it out right by the front door. So it was a pretty interesting experience. But they had people buying stuff throughout the day, which is good. I don't remember whatever the current price is. I mean, I didn't.
Is it $2.99 or something? I think can't be more. It can't be more than that. Wait, did you get which one? Did you get? Did you get an X?
The 1X.
The 1X. Okay, that might be $350.
Yeah, I think it was closer to that.
Yeah.
$399 is what I think it is.
Okay.
So $399.99.
Gotcha.
Well, and cool. That's down $100. Usually it's $499.99 is what they say.
Gotcha. Well, cool. Welcome to the Xbox family. I'm a big Xbox fanboy. I have had a PlayStation 4 for Thanksgiving of 2015. I think I've had it for a while.
Well, and that's the thing is I have like Johnny Fine. He's bringing up Metal Gear 5. I haven't played a lot of these exclusives. I mean, I played Metal Gear a long time ago. One of them. And so what I'll end up doing is playing through some of those exclusives that I know people talk about. They're like, "Oh, I love that game," but just because I haven't had that console to play it, I haven't bothered. So I'll play through some of those and just kind of experience them.
Halo.
Yeah, Halo. So because I have like the Game Pass.
Oh,
all of those are included.
Cool. Gears of War is a great one.
Yeah.
Cool. Well,
yeah, Gears of War, not Metal Gear, not Metal Gear Solid. Yeah, I'm thinking of Gears of War.
There you go. Yeah, Gears of War is a good game.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's changed this week. I'm trying to think what else is going on here. Not really a whole lot that I can think of. I haven't purchased anything. I'm trying to think.
Have you been working from home all week?
I have. That's been.
Has that been working as far as your type of job? Have you been able to do everything you need to do?
Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm always tired because I'm never. What I should be doing.
You're not out and about.
What I should be doing is waking up at my normal time, showering, making breakfast like normal, and getting ready for work. Instead, what I'm doing is waking up 3 minutes before I'm supposed to start, and getting everything turned on, and so I'm just exhausted. Like literally, my lunch break today, I took a nap for an hour. That was my lunch.
Nice.
I'm just exhausted.
Here we go. MDC's got a rain on my parade. He says, you missed out on the sale last week, a week or two ago. GameStop was selling new Xbox One X's with a game for $299.
That's not what he said. He didn't say Xbox One. He said the X-Bone. Get the vocabulary right.
Oh, X-Bone. It's called the X-Bone X.
The X-Bone X. Yes.
Okay.
All right. Be certain now that you're part of the Team Green. You need to make sure that your verbiage is up to snuff, Brian.
I ordered one thing I thought was odd is they don't have rechargeable batteries by default. So I ordered a second controller and then one of the charging units for the batteries, just because I don't want to have to sit there and worry about it.
Now, let me tell you what, Brian, I am an OG, and I've got the OG controller to prove it. I've got the day one 2013 controller. I don't like to brag, Brian. That's not what we do on this program, but kind of a big deal.
Well, this will be interesting. I'll let you know. I'll kind of give you guys updates on my experience and comparison.
Excellent.
Having been a PlayStation person, what I think.
So we're a little light on news this week, and I presume we will be for the next little bit. Looking at these two systems right now, let's assume that they're both going to be $500, which is a fair estimate. Xbox appears to, just based on specs, be a better system. Now, I know you like the PlayStation exclusives a little bit more. If I held a gun to your head and said you have $500, you have to purchase one, which one are you going to purchase?
I would still get the PlayStation first.
Okay.
Because there's certain particular games that I'm interested in that I'd rather play on that. Now, part of that reasoning is probably because I haven't played the Gears of War and all these that are exclusives to where I'm not so tied to those new ones that'll be coming out with a new console. So that's why that for me, The Last of Us and games like that are the ones I'm interested in.
One of the interesting things here to note though, and this pains me to say this, Brian, as a card carrying a Microsoft Xbox fanboy, it does pain me to say that the lure of the Xbox exclusives are kind of gone. And the two big ones, which they had for the longest time, were Halo and Gears of War. And both of those games are skeletons of what they have been in the past. I mean, you look at Halo, the first three Halos are just jaw-droppingly good. That is some of the best video game. The story is just incredible. It's just fantastic. And Gears of War is really good as well. Now, it's gory and whatnot, but Gears of War is a super cool game, similar to Doom in its level of goriness. And at the time when I was like 12, like chainsawing mutants in half on my little like 23-inch LCD was awesome. But if I obviously will be getting both of these systems, but if I had to say which system's got the hotter exclusives right now, Sony. And it's flipped, and it ebbs and flows. Back in the Xbox 360 days, God of War was about the only PS3 exclusive that I think it was. I'm trying to think of what else. I mean, you had Just Cause. Last of Us didn't exist, which is, I would make the argument, is their biggest exclusive they've got right now. I think Xbox 360 had the exclusivity war. It just there's just better games. All the games were better.
One thing I'm going to be curious of is we've been talking about Cyberpunk.
Yep.
I'm going to be curious what performs better with Cyberpunk. Once we get, because I'm assuming that's going to be pretty hot on the new console once they come out.
Hope so.
And you see these comparisons of how Red Dead Redemption runs on PC versus PlayStation and all these different things. I'd really be curious to see a head-to-head with the latest consoles on running a true cutting-edge game like that. Because I think that'll be really the tale of, can it run? And people will do screenshots, comparisons. They just really break it down. And that's where I'm going to be interested to see is how are they able to perform on that. I do have a theory on why, because I was watching a kind of a documentary type of a thing on YouTube about a video game development studio. And they were talking about how some games kind of strip a lot of the features from version to version.
Yeah, of course.
Because of different things where, they did spaghetti code to really work things together and make it work on one console. But then a new version comes out, hardware changes. They don't want to have to reprogram all of that in there. So they actually make a kind of a shell of a version, like you were saying, a shell of what they used to be. They actually take away features. And I'm wondering how much of it, because Microsoft has been probably doing this conversion to make it so that the PC and the Xbox are kind of very similar. I'm wondering if that's affected the video games over time, because studios have had to change probably the base of their code, the engines, things that they're running on have probably drastically changed more than PlayStations would have, because they're kind of moving towards this cross compatibility between a PC and an Xbox.
Yeah, I think that's definitely possible. I just think that I would assume that if you look back at the Xbox 360, Microsoft was kind of fat, dumb, and happy with. They slaughtered Sony in that series. It was a bloodbath. They had better games. The console was better. The live service, Xbox Live versus PSN, is night and day. And I'm sure that they got cocky. I'm sure they had Halo and Gears of War, and and for the longest time the Call of Duty exclusives were all on not the games exclusively itself, but the DLC was exclusive. Everything was first on Xbox, and I think they probably just got a little too cocky. Sony was hungry, and Sony has absolutely slaughtered Microsoft in the current generation that we're in, Xbone versus PS4. They just got better games, better system, better live service, better friends lists. All that stuff is just a whole lot better user interface. The Xbox UI is and excuse my language on this, is fucking terrible. It's been terrible since day one. They tried to adapt this Windows 8 bullshit start menu thing with all these stupid ass tiles, and it's just stupid. And it's always been stupid, and it's always sucked. It's always been when you have to look up on Google how to get to a goddamn sub menu on your Xbox.
Yeah.
It's a huge issue. It's a huge issue.
That's one thing I like a lot more about the PlayStation, just in the interaction that I had with it so far with the Xbox, is the menus make much more sense than the interface makes much more sense on the PlayStation.
It does.
They don't have all these weird, I'm sure I'll get used to it, once I start using it.
I don't think you will.
Right away.
I really don't.
It just seemed odd to me that they make you go to all these layers of menus, and then, okay, if you want to go to settings for the whole system, you have to go to your profile, then click settings, then you can change the video settings for the whole console. It's just weird how they've done it.
It is very weird. So I'm excited for the new generation of consoles. Obviously, I just spent $2,000 on a PC, so I'll be playing a lot of my games on the PC. But the console, excuse me, it's still this way. The Xbox and PlayStation drive a lot of what developers do because they sell the majority of their gross comes from consoles. So, like it or hate it, or PC Master Race or not, the console market and how those consoles do, and frankly, if they're competitive, it means the studios are more competitive, and it at the end of the day means us as the consumer get the better product. So that's what I'm hoping for, and I'm excited.
Now, what about I do have a question, like with the Game Pass. One thing I noticed is a big difference between how PlayStation does it versus Xbox.
Okay,
is the Game Pass gives you access to download and install a bunch of games.
Correct.
That's not how it works with PlayStation now, which is the equivalent. They stream a bunch of them. Now, they have added certain games that you can download and install on PlayStation now, but a majority of them are actually streaming the games.
Which is weird.
I think that's kind of odd that they're going that direction, because it's not like it's saving the bandwidth. If you put a lot of time into a video game that you're streaming, you're using up just as much bandwidth to download the game versus streaming it. I mean, you're not saving any kind of bandwidth. You're using more service on their end. I'm wondering, going into these new consoles, are you going to see PlayStation kind of staying that course, or are we going to see more titles actually going and allowing you to install them like a normal game, and the subscriptions giving you access to those titles? Because I think they envisioned it as something different, but I think they're kind of moving away and going back to the download.
I'm not sure. I would assume it had something to do originally with some DRM things, and maybe how the licensing was written, that you couldn't actually own the game or have the game downloaded. But the Xbox, the games don't stream. You download them. Now, obviously, when you stop paying for it, the games stop working.
Yeah,
so it's
you no longer have.
This is not like this isn't a download all you can get and then cancel your subscription. The games are tethered to your account. And MCD is saying the Xbox Game Pass wins hands down, and I'm a PS guy. I would agree that the Xbox Game Pass, and one of the other big games too that I forgot was Forza. Now, I'm not a racing fan, but the Forza series is pretty world reclaimed in its driving, and that's obviously another big Xbox exclusive as well. So, man, I'm excited for the new consoles. In 2015, when the Xbox came out, I was still in school, and obviously had a limited income. Now I'm attempting to be an adult, so it'll be I won't have to do as much penny pinching to pick up the next generation. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, and I think this will be interesting, especially when these new consoles coming out. Kind of the war. See if that war sparks up. See if there is a real controversy, real competition. I hope there is. As you said, competition makes better games, makes better prices, makes better competition between studios and companies, and we usually get a reward out of the end of that. And so I'm hoping it's not just one hands down wins, and the other stops trying, because as we've seen, when you have two companies competing against each other, like PlayStation and Microsoft, or Sony and Microsoft, you have now two awesome consoles come out of it. Now, if there had only been one console and there would have been no competition, do you think we'd have these consoles that we have now?
No, absolutely not.
I think we'd have shells of what they are. There would be no push to make them bigger and better, just like we're comparing the stats between the two. Those companies are doing everything they can to get the best stats squeezed out of each of those consoles that they can afford and make sense. And so I think that I think that competition between the companies. So I hope that maintains. I hope that it doesn't end up to where one kind of gives up and then you just have another one win, because I think we're going to lose out as the purchasers of those and the consumers.
Yeah. Stoner Stevo says, big thing for Xbox is game share, which is another part of it. You can share games across, similar to the
But
Steam.
you can do that. You can do that the same thing though with the PlayStation.
I wonder if it doesn't work as well. I personally have never used those services.
So one of my nephews has done game share with somebody, and it worked pretty well. Like somebody hacked their account or whatever, and so it messed it up. So I was just going to game share mine with him, and so we'll set that up. But it gives him access, I think, to my PlayStation Plus and all the games I have.
Yeah. MDC says, I like the
fact. I'll let you know next week, because we'll be setting it up this week.
Awesome. MDC says, I like the fact that I have Xbox Pass Unlimited and allows me to get access to games on console and PC. That's a huge selling point. And I think maybe Microsoft was willing to kind of take the L on the later half of the Xbox Xbone series and invest heavily into this PC market, hoping that, hey, PC folks, when you're buying your next gen console, which frankly a lot of people do, buy the Xbox and you'll literally have a whole library of games right off the bat. And frankly,
well, I think that the library, just because I can install it and they're like local games, and I've looked at the library on the Xbox, and it seems more substantial because there's a bunch of games on there that I've purchased on the PlayStation. I purchased them and they're very current titles, things that came out in the last couple of months. Those are on the Game Pass, and you don't tend to see those on PlayStation now. So you usually see kind of older titles.
Yeah, agreed.
So I think that's better.
So there's our next gen console conversation. And before we get into some more normal news here, Brian, are you a NASCAR fan?
No.
Did you see anything about NASCAR this weekend?
Well, I saw that. All I saw was that they've shut down the season or whatever. They're not doing races.
Well, we'll get a copyright strike for this on YouTube, but we'll take it. This was the look at Fox Sports 1 at 3:00 on Sunday when they did a interesting NASCAR race, Brian.
Welcome to the virtual Homestead Miami Speedway for the NASCAR Pro Invitational iRacing Series opener. It's a beautiful day in South Florida. The grandstand is packed with virtual fans. All right, let's just pull back the curtain, Wizard of Oz style. Here we are. We're in Charlotte, North Carolina, in the Steve Burns studio of Fox Sports Charlotte headquarters. I'm Mike Joy. He's Hall of Famer Jeff Gordon. We're practicing social distancing. John Edwards hiding in the shadows. Larry McReynolds in another room. And Clint Boyer, who's going to be competing while he's part of our broadcast team. We'll see how that goes. All right, folks, we know this is not real racing. Sure wish it was on a Sunday. But it's not a video game either. iRacing is a very sophisticated simulation, Jeff, that real race drivers as well as armchair racers use and compete against each other.
Well, these racers that are here, they've been practicing really hard, taking this very serious, and it is very realistic in so many ways. The way the cars drive are very similar to the real cars. Here are some shots from practice in our qualifying session that just ended a short time ago. 2-3 wide racing. You're going to see guys like Chase Briscoe from the Xfinity Series, as well as Jimmy Johnson, 7-time champion, is in the field today. But just like when I say how difficult this can be or realistic, practice and experience pays off. Look, Jimmy Johnson goes around on the back straightaway. Even one of the favorites here today, William Byron in the 24 car, who's great at iRacing, has a lot of runs under his belt, went for a spin. This is Anthony Alfredo from the Xfinity Series.
So
good thing there's a reset button.
So Brian, they did iRacing, which is it is the car. If you're into racing, it's the game that you play.
Yeah.
I want to say it's like $10, $15, $20 a month. It's super legit, and it was very, very cool to see. Now, these weren't just like regular people racing this. They had literal NASCAR drivers, including people like Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Busch, Kurt Busch, who was in the studio in North Carolina. They had all of these actual NASCAR drivers with these rigs set up, most of them with these 3 wide monitors, the big, the nice steering wheels, the shifters, and they did this virtual NASCAR race. They did 100 laps, and it was super cool. Now, obviously, we've seen esports on TV, and that has been Overwatch and Call of Duty and League and Dota, but this is the case in which you had NASCAR, which is an incredibly popular sport in the United States, replacing their TV telecast with a virtual race, which is amazing. And it had, I think it had over 500,000 viewers on Fox Sports 1, which is a cable channel, so it's not over the air. It was amazing. It was amazing. It was really, really cool to watch and see these professionals. And as Mike, the commentator there, said, this is not a video game. This is a simulator. And very, very cool to see this. And obviously, Madden is not a simulator for the NFL, and MLB The Show is not a simulator for baseball. But in this case with NASCAR, iRacing is the creme de la creme, and it was super interesting. Do
you think that over time, as people say that, they'll start to say, oh, racing is too dangerous, things like that, do you think we'll ever see a point when the race cars actually don't have a man driver in there and they're doing remotely running these cars?
No, because racing has never been safer. At this point,
I mean, it is definitely safer because you saw that wreck that happened a month or two ago.
Yeah, the guy's already out and fine. Yeah, I mean,
where if it would have been 10 years ago, he would have been dead for sure.
Yeah, and some of the big things that they noted on, and again, I'm not a NASCAR aficionado, and I'm sure most of our audience isn't either, but I just think it's important. The one big thing that they noted, Brian, is that unlike during actual NASCAR races, you can tweak your car. There's things that you can adjust, and I'm not going to pretend to know these things, but there are things that you can adjust on the car to make it looser and tighter, and those are the things that are really unavailable in a video game because you don't have that feel. You can't feel the car. Yeah. Now you can have a steering wheel that's got feedback and whatnot, but you're not sitting in the car. You're not feeling the engine, and you don't have that. You don't have that feedback like you do in person. So those adjustments to the vehicle are not the same. And that is, essentially every car is the same because there's no difference. In an actual NASCAR race, obviously there's regulations, but teams can adjust their cars throughout the race to run the way that they like it. And that's something that is not available right now. So that was rather neat. I don't want to spend the whole show on NASCAR, but pretty fascinating that, and I gotta say, huge props to NASCAR that in essentially a 2-week time period said, hey, we could just do whatever all the other sports are doing and just saying we're done. And instead they worked with iRacing, who I think is headquartered in Connecticut, to bring what I would imagine is the first ever literal NASCAR drivers sitting in their homes and then simulcast on Fox Sports 1, which is one of the largest sports networks in the world.
That's pretty cool.
It is incredibly cool. And if you don't think it's cool because, NASCAR, blah, 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 this is what the future of this could mean for computers and video games and simulations like this is far greater than that single race that took place on Sunday. And Firebomb's even saying, Dale Earnhardt Jr., who I think retired in 2016, raced in that iRacing series too. And you had a couple of older drivers that also raced in it as well. So obviously this is not a forever thing, but it does, I think, push and it shines the light, Brian. I'm sure, and I saw a lot of people talking about this on Twitter, that if you were if you were sitting on your couch, Brian, which I know is about 9,000 feet from the television in your living room, and scrolling through your channel list on your cable box, and you scrolled past Fox Sports 1 on Saturday afternoon, I don't think you would have known that it was a simulation. I don't think you would have not known that it was an actual NASCAR race. And I think what that does more than anything else is maybe show people that, hey, oh wow, that's a computer doing that. That's a video game. Here. That's a video game that's doing that. That's incredible. So I think that's probably the biggest takeaway. But I watched that on Sunday, man. I had a hell of a time watching that. It was freaking awesome to see that.
Yeah.
Because you're seeing these
people
gaming.
They don't have the destruction quite the same, but but the racing itself, like up until you hit a wall, like it looks that they're drifting the way that they would. Yeah. Everything seems realistic, and they've done a good job of simulating that.
To see where we've come in such a small period of time, where video game streaming was originally, like, if you go back to even 2008, 2012, right? You had Justin TV and Ustream. That's where people streamed video games. Then Twitch came along, and then Justin TV became Twitch. It was the gaming stream site. YouTube brought out YouTube Gaming, and you've got all the and Microsoft with their site Mixer, and then you turn on your television at 2:00 on a Sunday afternoon, and you're seeing Jeff Gordon and Mike Joy commentating over guys on computers with 3 monitors and the whole thing, and the seats that vibrate. That's incredible in literally a 10-year period. I mean, that's astonishing, and speaks a lot to the gains that companies like Intel and Nvidia and AMD and EVGA and the rest of them have put in, and there's your benefit. There you see it.
And that's something Unreal has done a lot to try to work with the broadcast market. I mean, look at what their cooperation with the Weather Channel has done. That's kind of the beginnings of it, but I think that they're going to have it to where they're putting people into what it's like to be in the middle. Because you remember when they would have these natural disasters, they send a camera guy out there, and you could tell they're standing in like the deepest puddle they can find.
Yeah, of course.
To try to
they do
give
that
a
down
sense
here
of
in
how
hurricanes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, you see a guy walking lazily behind you, and you're acting like you're being blown over. Great,
it happens here all the time.
but they can kind of program in. Hey, here's what it would be like in the middle of a hurricane. And you saw it. They showed the flooding, and they showed all these different aspects of it. And a lot of those things happening in real time, because it's processing that around a person standing in a studio and kind of generating on the fly all this data. And so I think you're going to see more and more of that in companies like Epic working to make it to where those things happen more easily on, it's not some big deal to produce something and taking months to produce it. We'll start seeing that stuff every day on the news, on all these different types of like, for instance, this, to where you can have something that is very realistic. Because usually up until this point, you'd see something like, oh, that's 100% a computer. Like, it's so obvious. They use really basic blocky things, and it just looks horrible. But I think that's going to be passing, and you'll have a hard time differentiating. Where if you're skimming through the channels, like you said, it's hard to tell the difference. Like, if you don't look closely, that's a computer. That's not a real race. I think that's going to be the standard.
Yeah, it doesn't look like an N64 game, like Cruising USA or whatever game on the N64. So yeah, if you're interested, you can go check out. There's the clips on YouTube and whatnot of that race. It was pretty neat to look at. So, all right, let's talk about some video game news here, Brian. Last Oasis, which we talked about last week on the program, was releasing. When did they release? They released on.
They released, I think, tomorrow. Is it tomorrow too, or the day after?
Sorry,
I think
Thursday.
It's 20.
They're releasing on Thursday, and what we didn't have last week was a price. And I think the price is actually a sweet spot between when it comes out, the 26th, and April 2nd, which will give you a little bit of time. You'll be able to go ahead and purchase it for $24.89, which will be the discounted price, and then after that, it's going to go up to its regular MSRP of $30, which for a game like this, I think seems to be on par. No?
I would. Well, I mean, I think that's a really good price for it. It depends. We've talked about, for instance, Ark. We've gotten our money's worth. From the original game, we got our money's worth out of it. We bought DLC, season passes, various things since then. But for the money we put in initially, I think we did an excellent, deal with getting our value out of that. This one, if it's anything like Ark, as far as the expansiveness of it, the big open world, the competitive PvP that could happen, definitely a good price. You know, they're going to be hosting servers. There's a lot that goes into this. If it's anything like that, then I mean, $24.89 is an excellent deal.
Yeah, and it'll obviously on next week's program we'll have some early Steam reviews to look at, and I don't know, maybe we can get a copy or two of this to give away. I don't think we've got a hook.
I was looking today to see if it was on our thing, and I didn't see it on the automated.
Okay, well, maybe we can reach out to them and see what people are thinking about it. It's going to be an interesting style game. You know, obviously a lot of people home these days with everything going on, so maybe a good time to pick up a game like this if you're looking for something to do. So we'll.
I'll definitely try it out because I'm interested in seeing how the mechanics work of those vehicles and how they handle PvP in the open world. There's a lot of kind of cool looking, fairly complex things in this that I just want to see how they did it. I'm curious, and if they did it well, then I think that's a good setup for them being successful.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So that's Last Oasis. Comes out here in a couple days, and you can check it out on Steam for $25, $30 if you wait a couple days, and that'll be available here soon, which is neat. Not many survival games. Not that this is necessarily hardcore survival, but you're not seeing as many games like this like we were seeing even 2.5, 3 years ago. So exciting to see a new one on the horizon.
I mean, there's a number of them in the pipeline, but how many of those actually come out is going to be curious, because you see some that are just totally asset flips, and it's like, okay, well, it is a survival game, but it's not necessarily one I want to play.
Yeah. Well, speaking of in the pipeline, Brian, Dead Matter was part of. Did you happen a chance to catch this live stream at all?
No, I didn't. I heard about it.
So
I saw the notice, but I haven't seen it.
They were part of an event. So now they're being done by a Canadian studio, and Twitch Calgary was doing a marathon stream one day last week. I don't remember what day of the week it was, Thursday or something. And Nick, the developer of the game, was on the stream with the host, and they actually jumped in Dead Matter and ran around. Now the video here is about 17 minutes, and there's a couple people that have uploaded it to YouTube, so you can go ahead and get it. I might upload our copy here, I'm not sure. But you can see them running around in the game, and this is the first extended gameplay that I've really seen here, Brian. And while obviously it's exciting and we're looking forward to it, you know, like for example, this light, like that looks. Normally, lights in video games are just a source of light, and in that case, you can actually see the two independent bulbs of the fluorescent light. And
they even bothered to change the coloring, the temperatures, they would call it.
Yep. Absolutely.
Of the bulbs, so that you would show that there's two different types of bulbs kind of put throughout the complex.
Yep.
I mean, there's some little details that are pretty cool. They actually match them up correctly.
So they've got some of that stuff that looks great, but then on the flip side, you see the character model, which is in rough shape. Now, I don't know if that's some sort of
They don't have hair yet.
Well, they don't have hair, but even just you look at the way that they walk and their arms are like constantly flailing out in front of them. That's not how people run.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be blend spaces, them going through and really working with an animator.
So I'm not sure. This might be just a temporary model because they're not super concerned about it. They might just be working out of engine or out of the live build. But I mean, it looked pretty good. You can see here they've got the shadows and you can see all the different colors and everything. And that
there was a skip. Did you see that? There was like a lag.
Yeah,
skip.
well, I think it's when he stepped off the platform. Like the camera kind of jolts, and that was one of the things. The camera motion was a little wonky. A little bit more running around. You can see some of the world is populated pretty well with with some medical tents and whatnot. There's some stores.
They haven't dirtied it up, which I understand you want to kind of save that for later, but you can tell they haven't like put the trash on the ground a ton yet. I'm assuming they'll go through and do that.
Yep. So you can see, your typical survival style stores. You've got a car garage, a gas stations, little quickie marts, things like that. The fog, which I think a lot of people see as a benefit, to me kind of seems like a good way to make it makes the game not have to render as well and look as pretty because you just glaze everything in this white shadow.
Well, okay, so and the way that works, like let's say LODs, those are level of details. So we've talked about that. We have actually talked about that on the show before.
Yeah.
But something that's really far away is a much less detailed object. Here, when you have so much fog, you don't even have to really render a lot of the things from super far away, or you can put them at incredibly low detail levels, because as you can see those trees in the distance, you don't really need to see the detail. You just need to see the outline of them.
The shadow. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got some of that.
Gets away with it.
You can see them running around. You can see some more buildings and whatnot. The cars you can actually interact with and drive, which I'll show here in a little bit. So you can open up the doors and whatnot, which is cool. Not most games don't let you actually open the doors. It's more of it's a press E or F to enter. And one of the other cool things here as well, as you'll see here in a second, is you can actually shoot the tire out, and it does in fact drop the tire drops, and the car the tire deflates and the car lands on the rim, which is neat. So there will be obviously a repair system with that and some sort of patch system. So overall, it was about a 20-minute stream here. The inventory was a little jank, and the driving was less than ideal. Let's see if I can show the driving here. The driving was probably the jankiest of the setup, and you can just see that it's just very. I'm not even sure if it's the steering or if it's the net code, but it did not appear to run very smooth. Which again is not a huge criticism, but it's just something to take a look at its current point in time. You can see the car very jerky. You press D and the car just shifts to the right, shifts to the left, and that obviously is a work in progress. But Brian, the coolest part of this was the part that you and I are going to obviously be featured in, which is the in-game radio station. Right? You're still working on that for me?
Oh yes.
CMRN.
Oh yeah, I'll contact him.
97.5, the radio station in game, where there's going to be some radio broadcasts going on. And then the final thing here, before they ended the stream, was a horde of zombies that got spawned in, and you can see the effects of shooting with that. Of course, bullets holding their place in the air. That's an old H1Z1 adage. And
I love that.
And yeah, that was the stream. And I think for a lot of people, myself included, Brian, I didn't see anything negative about this. Now, you can be critical of things. I think what this really shows is this game still has a long way to go. This is not a game that is ready to be shipped tomorrow. And there's a lot of these things that in 17 minutes... And it's going to be
an alpha, when it does get released. It's now, one thing that I find interesting, there's kind of two ways to handle bullets. And you can see there, like you actually saw the bullets in the air. There's a difference between two different types of ways to do video games. Is you can have one that just does a trace and then applies damage to what's on the other side of the line, versus that which is like a physical projectile, and you could see it flying through the air, which creates a very different feel. Ooh, I don't know if I like that door opening that direction. Kind of strange.
Inside like that? Oh, and the light system, the electrical system, which is in there too. You actually turn lights on.
Can you go back to that hall?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to when he opens the door right there. See how that opens, blocking you off? It seems like if it was a door like that, they would make it open the other direction.
Oh, I see that. Yeah, it opens on the outside of the door.
Yeah, it's like, can you imagine having that in your house where you're like having to actually do that?
Yeah.
And what's weird is the other door does that, is the correct direction. I don't know why they did that. Who knows details. But so with guns, when they're shooting, so it'll do a trace, and then that's why a lot of times, like with hit scan, you'll see people kind of sliding to the side in certain video games when they're shooting, because it has more of a chance to hit, versus this, which is a physical projectile. But as you can see, when there's lag, when things are optimized in the net code, it probably was, that's where the point when the bullet was, when it was updating where the bullet is in the air, and so you see it there for a second. It'll be interesting to see how well they make that happen. With guns, because it can create a lot of lag.
And you also saw one of the other cool things there was that the houses are kind of going to be what you take over for your base building, and you can cover up the windows with newspaper so that you are a little more protected than you would be otherwise. So the whole video's there. They talk through it. If it wasn't so long, we'd play it on the show, but it's almost 20 minutes. So great to see. It shows that there's progress. There's progress being done, and that this game is not a. And I don't think anybody thought this.
Most of a video game is there.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody actually thought this, but there is obviously the threat that, hey, is there anything on the actual other side of this, or is it limited screenshots and pre-produced video? These guys are both running around in game which shows you that there's some sort of server client system. There's obviously netcode that the users can interact and drop items for each other and get in the same vehicle. So as you said, Brian, the game is there. There is a game behind the screenshots and the pictures and the dev logs, which is not always the case. We've seen it in the past. So that's Dead Matter. It took place on the Twitch Calgary stream late last week, and the link will be in our show notes on infectionpodcast.com, where you can check out the entire VOD of that.
Very good. All right. What we'd mentioned in the first topic, it's actually somebody brought up and rubbed it in that I spent $100 too much on my console.
Yeah.
But they talked about GameStop. Now, GameStop was in the news a little bit this week because of some statements they were making.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, my stock for GameStop was hurting this week.
I bet.
Rebounded a little bit today, but it was on a hot dumpster fire this past week.
I think they said that the rebound, though, that was like today or something, was the biggest rebound they've ever had since like the Great Depression.
Yeah, it was, but because GameStop was in such terrible news, even as good as the gain as that was, my total return is, I mean, it's pretty good. It's 11%, which is a lot, but compared to some of the other stocks like Cisco, which is at like 30-something%, GameStop was down this week, and it was because there was some criticism that they were not shutting down their stores in the states in which there are either lockdowns, or almost the entire United States at this point. Restaurants are closed, and stores, like Brian said,
seems like they could have handled this in a better way. I mean, why not do what as I mentioned, Best Buy was doing?
Yeah.
Have people pre-order. People can call in, say what they're going to get, pick it up, or they can stop. Someone can be at the front door, say what were you wanting, and arrange it that way. Just don't let people come in and touch everything.
I've got
because that's a big concern.
I've got a hot take. And this is a hot one. I'm being dead serious. This may be the hottest take I've ever had on this program, and it's going to end up screwing me. I don't think GameStop's going to open back up.
You don't think they're going to survive this? I think they've been on the edge up into this point anyways.
Yep, absolutely. And this could be a great way for them to say, hey, out of our hands, let's file for bankruptcy. Let's restructure. We're cutting 50%, 70, 80, 90% of our stores, whatever it may be.
Reopening with a totally new social environment.
I don't even know if they'll reopen, frankly.
But they may remain some of those hot spots that they have. Maybe they have some hot locations that actually do good business. Do that new concept that we had shown months ago
from Oklahoma
of having it be a gathering spot with classic games and all those things, to where they can make money off people selling them drinks and whatever else. Change it from a place, because everybody, I think this is going to cement in people's minds more and more than ever, buying things online.
Okay. No, it will not. And you're wrong. And let me tell you why you're wrong. Because I went on Amazon yesterday, and I understand that there's a worldwide pandemic going on. I ordered a microphone arm, Brian. It's not going to be here until April 21st. Because it is not listed as a priority item from Amazon.
But that's temporary, though.
I understand that it's temporary, but what that really shows is that now they got the item in stock, they're just not going to waste their resources shipping it, which shows that, Brian, if you needed something tomorrow from Amazon that wasn't deemed as essential from them, you're shit out of luck.
Well, and I actually, ordering that additional controller and stand, 3 or 4 of the first controllers I went to all said, oh, these are, and I assume people are buying, they're going to be home, they're trying to buy controllers and everything else. But I had to go through 5 of them before I found a controller that actually be shipped with Prime.
Yeah. So, well, my product is shipped with Prime too, but it's arriving by Tuesday, April 21st, which.
Well, I think that personally, I think that Amazon is trying to hire on 100,000 more people right now, because to handle this. I think they will get to where they're shipping things normally here very soon.
Yeah.
And then I think people are going to be so used to the concept now of, all right, well, I can't go to the store to buy something. I think it's online shopping is going to be even cemented more in people's minds and happening more and more. And it's going to be tougher for GameStop to recover from that, because people are not going to be thinking, oh, well, I'm going to go pick up a controller at GameStop.
Yeah. Well, and I say that not that I'm saying Amazon is a bad service or GameStop is better, but I'm just illustrating the point that this is a big disadvantage of this online only model. If Amazon decides, hey, we're not, because of order demand, we don't.
GameStop is closed.
They are closed.
I mean, that's
now.
the alternative.
Yeah. Agreed. But that's what I'm saying is like, so Amazon deems that my microphone arm, which I understand is not
essential. Yeah.
I understand it's not essential, but I want it. I do.
Yeah.
And
well, some
and
of
I
the
don't have
things
the
that
choice.
they mark as delayed are actually shipping faster, because I ordered spaghetti noodles a week ago.
Of course.
And they said it was going to be a couple weeks. Well, I mean, I think I mentioned this before. I want to get ones that are that are good quality spaghetti noodles. So I ordered them. And they just shipped it out. So but they claimed it was going to be 3 weeks.
Quality spaghetti noodles, yeah.
I want to have quality stuff. I don't want to have junk. There's the difference when you taste it.
You would die if you looked at my freezer right now and saw the dozen Tostina's party pizzas and the 150 egg pizza rolls I've got. Now, to be fair, I haven't eaten any of them yet. This is my.
You're saving them for just in case.
Yeah.
Apocalypse really happens. You'll be walking down the street with your shopping cart full of Tostinas.
I'll be walking around with my pistol and my 99-cent pizza with hot sauce all over it. My meatball supreme.
Nobody touches this.
Leave me alone.
Now this could be so MDC, he brings up, I bet they decide to close, like you said, and they're using this time to revamp their spotlight stores. They will reopen with a new look and slogan. Very possible. This could be the perfect time.
It could be
to pretty much cut down and restructure without it being awkward.
Unfortunately, though, you can't have people working on your store. Well, I guess they could hire contractors. I don't know how that's going to work. But
there's a lot of people still working.
There is. So I think if this doesn't put GameStop out of business, which I think it very well could, then I hope that they do a restructure, because it's a disaster right now. And I bought stock hoping that they would trend up towards what we were looking at as a year ago at this point, was that remodel of the store they did. I believe it was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where they had SNESs and NESs and N64s and CRTs and a big fridge with, Monster Energy drinks and Red Bulls and Doritos and that, the pinnacle of video gaming. And half the store was that, and half the store was other stuff, new video games, consoles, things like that people still want to buy, instead of tchotchke bullshit like Mario lamps for $70 or ThinkGeek, which is owned by GameStop, but they transform half the stores into a ThinkGeek, which is expensive shit that nobody wants.
Well, I think that they're kind of going to go for the feel that you get when you go into a tabletop board game store, where they have half the store is actual things that they sell, retail product, and then the other half of the store is a place where people can play games and hang out and socialize. And that really is the feeling that I feel like they were trying to get with that new GameStop design. And this is something where I would see them trying to emulate that feel of having people walk in, hang out for the evening, ones that are willing to spend money, whatever, and still see if they can make a profit doing that. I don't know. It's still going to be tough, because video games are very different than board games. It's hard to make people as social on a video game, because it's usually just going to be two people sitting there playing a game or something. It's not going to be a group.
And there's obviously big differences between board games and video games that we're not going to get into, but our friend Governor says, reminds me of Blockbuster's last days, which was similar. Netflix and GameFly and services like that were eating Blockbuster's lunch. And Firebomb says, I don't have any other game stores. I grew up with GameStop. It's the only one left. There were some stores that used to exist. People just don't go into game stores anymore when Walmart has it just as cheap. And that's part of it. Why drive crosstown to a GameStop when you can walk into a Walmart or a Target and get the same $59.99 game from there? Which in almost every town in America, there is probably a Walmart or Target closer than a GameStop. In a lot of cases, not every case, but in some cases that's the situation. So it makes sense, and they have absolutely failed to adapt to any sort of new model. Their stores, they have a new look, but but it's the same design. It's cases of video, the plastic video game covers on the wall. You bring it up to the counter, then they give you the actual game. That's what GameStop is. And then they've got their exorbitant used game market, which I understand why they sell the used games at the price they do, because it's the only thing they can make a margin on. But nobody buys them because you're selling used video games for $5 less than the new one.
Yeah.
So I personally don't see GameStop opening up and being exactly what it is now.
Now, one thing I'm looking at the side here. Sorry, I'm reading an article on the side of this article that we're discussing. Do you know that Kickstarter workers formed the first union in the tech industry?
No.
So the Kickstarter employees formed a union.
When? Like today?
Like a month ago.
Oh.
I didn't hear anything about it. I just thought it was kind of interesting.
It is interesting. I did not hear
or actually February 18th. So I was going to mention it.
Interesting.
That's kind of odd. You didn't hear anything about it, but yeah, they formed a union, which is weird for all they do is present other people's ideas.
Yeah, well, I mean, there is back end stuff that goes on.
It's a platform for it, but it's just weird that they would create a union for that.
It is odd.
So anyways, it's totally different topic.
Yes, sir. So that's GameStop. Yeah, GameStop. You can't check it out because it's closed.
But hey, maybe you'll check it out when they open, if they open. Yeah, we'll see.
Well, by the way, people pre-order games and literally can't get them now because the stores are closed and they have no way to get them.
You can't go in and pick them up. Yeah, but that's gonna come back to bite them.
Disaster, huge disaster. Well, they were trying to stay up for the Doom launch. That's what they really were trying to do, and they did do that successfully. But it was a mess. You had lines of people standing on top of each other, packed in.
When you're not supposed to be, you're supposed to be social distancing, and then all of a sudden they're doing an event to bring everybody into a line right next to each other, a bunch of sweaty people.
Brian, we don't. As I said, we're not going to talk about coronavirus on this program, but I have a gripe with you now.
Okay.
Because you just said the word. Am I the only one that thinks that this term social distancing is the stupidest word in the world? And this, not a word, but the stupidest phrase. I'm not saying the concept is stupid. It just sounds, doesn't it kind of sound like an elementary school rule? Social distancing? It doesn't sound like something that you take seriously.
Yeah, I mean, they could have come up with a different phrase for it, like healthy, like a healthy perimeter or healthy.
Yeah, that sounds
like
even stupider.
So use something with a bubble, like whatever, to tell you. Because they're trying to tell you stay 6 feet away.
Yeah, they are, but it just sounds like a children's thing. Like, oh, on the playground we have social distancing between the children.
Yeah,
doesn't it kind of sound like that?
Sometimes you got to talk to people like they're children.
Yeah,
but I mean, buffer stick. Everybody needs to carry around a stick, and if I can whack you with it, you're too close.
That could be dangerous. I'm already covered. Chilling.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, I mean, you'd know. So yeah, that's GameStop and some of the things going on with them. You put an article in here. I don't know if this came from our Discord or not, but there's an article in here about Bohemia Interactive, which is obviously Arma and DayZ.
Ylands,
also known as Ylands.
Mm-hmm.
They grossed $68 million last year.
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out how. Like, what's their top-selling game that everybody's buying?
Well, they said that the DayZ, and they're saying this, well, I've never seen this. They said that DayZ performed especially well on the Xbox and PlayStation during 2019. The base game on Xbox and PlayStation sold 1.1 million copies, and overall on it sold 5.8 million copies combined now between Xbox, PlayStation, and Steam. And the Livonia DLC, which we talked about a couple months ago now, sold about 500,000 units worldwide since November. So Arma 3 as well sold 2.8 million units last year in the year 2019. And it's got $5.5 million total lifetime sales, and it's sold DLC sales up to almost $10 million. That's
pretty crazy.
Yeah, they're making a lot of money, I guess.
They had Arma. They had that one that was kind of like the space alien one, something with encounters or whatever. I mean, they had a couple. They had the DayZ DLC that they did. Livonia, is it?
Livonia.
Something
it was
like
its
that?
DLC, yeah.
So I mean, they put out a couple things. None of them seem to really be blockbuster. But if they're selling a bunch, maybe they're not doing a ton on PC. But sounds like, as you said, they're doing decently on console.
Yeah, I sold them over 1 million copies on Xbox and PlayStation, which is great. And then obviously DLC sales have a lot to do with that. So, and this is, by the way, their 20th anniversary, and they finished all in development titles. So all of their in development titles are out now. One way or the other.
Hopefully they're working on Arma 4 or something.
Yeah, absolutely. So cool story there. And if you would have said that, if you would have said, hey, they, DayZ or Bohemia made all this money in 2019, I would have said that's not true. That's a lot of money.
Well, especially when you don't see them in the news doing what you view as blockbuster sales.
Yeah.
I mean, if you said, oh, GTA sold however many million, you'd be like, okay.
Yeah, they sold almost 5 million copies of software in 2019.
Which is very good, because, I mean, you don't hear about them in the news.
No.
We talk about some things that they do, but they're not doing any major title that if you walk down the street and talk with somebody, they'll be like, oh, that game. Like you could go into when there was a GameStop open, right? And you could start talking about Cyberpunk, and people will be like, oh, yeah, I'm so excited for that. Can you think of any Bohemia games that you could walk in there and say, oh, hey, let's talk about this game, and they'd be like, oh yeah, I love that game.
Yeah, everybody's playing Ylands.
Yeah, I know. We enjoyed it so much. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm glad you did. No, you're right. But all that shows really is that press is one thing, but you can still make a serious
money.
Change,
I mean, just like Rust,
oh my God.
There's a
gold.
We looked at the numbers that they're producing on that, and it's just amazing.
Yeah. Hundreds of thousands of DLC downloads a month. It's insane.
Yep.
So there's Bohemia.
And it just seems like they're sitting there just being very consistent, kind of doing stuff. But over the year, man, it's paid off for them. And it looks like it's paying off for Bohemia as well.
Absolutely. So good news from that. And hopefully they've got some new games on the horizon. Maybe a survival game. Time will tell.
Yep. Now, PH, I think he had posted in Discord the Steam stats for the past 24 hours.
Oh,
or actually 48 hours.
Okay.
They have been peaking at right around 22 point whatever million people concurrent. Actually, the peak was 22.3 million concurrent people. So that right now it's right about 15.7 million. So there are definitely a lot of people playing. I think if you zoomed it out over time, you'd be able to see, how it's raised since all this kind of started since the beginning of the year. But they're definitely doing well.
Well, and to be fair,
a lot of people logged in.
A lot of people are working remotely on their computers at home.
So their computers are on. Exactly. And that's the big difference. Not necessarily, I mean, you've got peak today for CSGO. It's over 1 million people. But I think a lot of people are at their computers. Computers are turned on that normally would be asleep or turned off or something.
Yeah, my computer, I shut my computer off at night and then I turn it back on when I get home from work at the end of the day. Since I've been working from home, my computer's on all day, which means I'm logged into Steam all day, which means Brian, I am the 23 million. I am the 23 million.
Yes. People like you.
Yeah. Funded by viewers like you.
I would be curious, maybe after all of this is kind of done, we'll start seeing these numbers, but have the sales purchases, because this is a weird time. People are home. Probably people are playing video games, but they probably feel very uncertain about the future.
Yeah, very much so.
So it makes it a weird time where I would normally think, oh, all these people are home. You know what? They're buying games. But I would also think that there is a large percentage of the population that are concerned about having a job when this passes. And so I would think that would maybe cause them to hinder in purchasing games or, being on a little more of a budget. I know there's people in our Discord that talked about, they got laid off. They got, different things that for them, it's a big deal. Like there's plenty of people working from home, but there's other people that now this is just the beginning of an ordeal that's going to last them a couple of months of having to deal with getting a job and everything. So I'm going to be curious at the end of this, what was the impact on video game sales because of this? And I don't know which way it's going to go. I don't know if it's going to be a raised set of sales or if it's actually going to be a droop and there's more people are playing games they own, but they're not buying new games because they want to make sure they have money.
I would gamble on the latter. Playing more games, but games they already own. I tell you what, I'm glad I'm not releasing a video game right now, especially a game like Doom that just came out, because I think a lot of people looked at that and said, no, I was interested, but it just doesn't make sense. $60 go a long way.
I think that there's also going to be a little bit of a different focus for some people. I mean, you have the people that out of reaction and trying to get some form of control in their life went out and bought a bunch of toilet paper and stupid things like that, right? But I think you're going to see some people reevaluating their what they consider important, and saying, okay, do we have all of these necessities like food, forms of protection, whatever it is that they view as making their house feel like a safe place and have feeling like the future is concrete. I'm kind of curious of how much of this is going to affect some purchasing for the next 6 months of people kind of preparing for this in the future, even though you're not expecting it to happen again right away, right? Or anything like it. But I think you'll see people. Oh yeah. I mean, there's certain segment of the population that's always prepared. You got what's the pills you got?
Yeah.
Blue something, whatever.
Yeah, it's my toothpaste. It's fun.
Yeah. But I think that you're going to start seeing some people that will just kind of reevaluate and say, all right, let's budget some money to be in a good place to where we don't feel like we're helpless and we end up running out and buying a bunch of toilet paper to make us feel like we actually have some power in our lives.
Yeah. And our friend Falcon makes a good point. $60 is a lot of Tostitos.
Totinos.
And I'll tell you what, that's like 50 something party pizzas.
Well, I know. That's like a week and a half's worth of dinner.
That's like
lunch and breakfast.
It's probably like 3 months of. Oh, dude.
Well, it depends on how many you
Let
eat
me tell you
day.
what. Okay. Oh, you want to hear something here?
All right,
I've done this. I've done this before, and we're not going to get to any of our news, and it's fine.
We made it to point 3.
So you make your party pizza. You go with the traditional pepperoni. All right.
Okay.
Now, you pull that guy out before it's completely done.
Okay.
You scramble up some eggs.
Oh.
Line that bitch up with some eggs on the top, and you're making yourself a breakfast pizza. Put it back in the oven for a little bit. Let the eggs get crispy. Maybe sprinkle some cheese. A little bit of hot sauce. Oh, mwah. Yeah, it's already got protein. It's got pepperoni.
Well, I'm saying the eggs is also another form of protein.
Yeah, or actually, it's even better with the sausage one, if you can get it. That's a tip of the week. Now, Brian does tip of the week later on in the show, but you want a real tip of the week, that's it right there. Crack a couple eggs, fry them up in a pan, scramble them up, lay them on top, sprinkle some sharp cheddar or something on there. That's a recipe for living the Miller High Life.
So I introduced one of my nephews to those Nongshim, like Asian they're like they're a soup. They're kind of like a ramen noodle, but they're Korean ramen.
Okay.
And so the noodles are much thicker. There's a lot. They're like a full meal by themselves.
Okay.
So I buy those, and then usually what I'll do is I'll whip up an egg, like an egg drop soup, egg flour type of thing, and then I'll put it in there, and it makes it a full meal.
Yeah,
you got
of course.
a couple of things in there, protein. He loves those things, so I go and buy them like crazy now. But those, that's the same thing. Like by itself, probably not the most healthy, but you throw some protein in there.
Oh, I mean, I would say like at least 8 out of 9 doctors recommend an egg on top of your Totino's party pizza.
On top of anything, I mean.
Yeah, agreed.
Makes it better.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Anyways, that has nothing to do with.
Yeah, just saying. Tip of the week for you. All right. So let's talk about PUBG real quick, Brian. And we've actually got a video here. We've got a PUBG patch report, which we don't always get, but we get them every once in a while, and they're pretty well done. So let's take a quick look at this PUBG patch report from our friends over.
This one's actually in English.
Our friends over at Bluehole. It is in English. I had to watch it, and we'll be back right after this.
Season 6 is winding down, but there's still quite a bit of change about to hit the battlegrounds. Hold on tight. Things are about to get explosive. The first, which was teased all the way back in 6.1, is finally making its PUBG debut. The Panzerfaust is a rocket launcher with an effective range of up to 150 meters, and can only be found on Karakin. Sticky bombs aren't the only thing knocking down walls these days. The Panzerfaust is a single-fire weapon with very limited availability, and as you would expect, is as challenging to aim as it is highly damaging. It also takes up one of your primary weapon slots, and doesn't allow for any attachments. So take your time and zero in on your target properly to avoid wasting that precious shot. One more thing, a powerful weapon like this has a pretty nasty backblast, so be careful when firing the Panzerfaust if someone's behind you. Or take an enemy out with the backblast for extra style points. Just make sure you don't let Todd fire it off in a crowded hallway. In fact, don't give it to Todd at all. Panzerfaust is bound to add even more tension to the already tense Karakin. We're looking forward to seeing the crazy plays you all pull off with this one. We're also taking the end of the season to do a little weapon balance. The M249, the Tommy gun, and the UMP-45 are all seeing some changes. The biggest shuffle perhaps is the M249, which is now a world spawn weapon. Previously you could only find the M249 in care packages, but we've updated its look and sound, added some attachment slots, and reworked its numbers a bit. Previously, the M249 held 100 rounds of ammo, but will now default to 75, and go up to 150 with an extended magazine. To help counter the gun's increased availability and capacity, we've increased its recoil and lowered the damage per bullet a bit. The Tommy gun hasn't changed much since launch, so we're giving it a little love this update with a damage increase, recoil reduction, and finally the ability to attach red dot and hollow sights. And last but not least in the balance hopper is the UMP-45. Since the swap from 9mm ammo, the UMP has dropped off a little in usage, so we're upping its damage and bullet travel speed. For more detailed information on the gun rebalance, check out our full patch notes. Karakin is also now available for play in custom matches, but we've disabled the red zone option because the black zone is already part of the map. One last thing, the global rule set for esports mode has been updated to the 2020 version. The updated rule set has been set up based on new Erangel, so try it out and experience PUBG like the pros. Season 6 has seen a lot of experimentation from us, but we're thrilled so many of you are enjoying Karakin and our other additions. There's some cool stuff on track for next season, but for now, train up with the new weapon and balance changes. Be sure to check out our patch notes for details on everything 6.3. Karakin action just got a little more explosive, so drop in and finish the season off with a bang.
All right, there's a quick update there from PUBG and their new Season 6 and the 6.3 update.
Yep.
Okay. Do you have a PUBG point to make?
Yeah, one thing I was going to mention, Unreal recently in one of their new versions of the engine have been implementing pretty much destruction, the ability to have full buildings kind of destruct.
Yeah.
And have this happen on a mass scale without killing performance. And I think I kind of see some of the things that they're making hitting. You did see that they did have some destruction of like certain points that were very obvious, like this is a point that you can shoot. But I think what they're probably aiming towards is having that sort of destruction, kind of like what is it? It's not COD. The Battlefield, I think, does
got
this.
a lot of destruction. Yeah.
Where it has
cool.
destruction of all the buildings and everything. Arma does this as well. I think you're going to start seeing this. I bet you this is what they're aiming towards, why they're starting to put in some more explosive type of things, is putting in true destruction where you can blast through walls. And unlike when they try to do it in H1Z1, have it be a specific looking wall and a specific spot that you can blow out, but have it be to where you can work your way through buildings just by blowing up any wall and working your way through it, and actually having if you blow up enough of the outer wall, the whole building will collapse.
Yeah. I want to make a point about PUBG, and it's not actually about PUBG, it's about Call of Duty. I've been playing a lot of Warzone. My fear that I wouldn't like Warzone and all my friends would be playing Warzone has been dealt with, because I really do like Warzone. And I don't know how much you've played. I know you were playing a little bit on the console.
Yeah.
When I can average 1 to 2 kills a game in a battle royale, and that's an average, maybe even more, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
And you literally could die 400 times. As long as one of your teammates are still alive and have $4,500, which is relatively easy to get, you can keep getting back in. And plus you get your own second chance. I had serious doubts, and I think I echoed those doubts on this program about how, I don't buy this whole AAA studio is going to come in, this whole bullshit with, we're going to make the new BR that everybody wants to play. I didn't buy it.
Yeah.
Warzone is fantastic. And I think it's
I'll have to give it another try here this week. And
I think it's past the honeymoon period. It's been out for, I've been playing it almost on a nightly basis. And I really like it. It's fair.
Yeah.
I feel that I have a fair opportunity to win gunfights. What is not happening, Brian, is you don't get one tapped. Doesn't exist. Now, if you have like no armor on, you will. But the armor is so plentiful and so easy to get. You can buy it for $1,500 or $1,200 in game. Unless you're not wearing any armor at all, you are not getting one tapped from across the map. You're not getting killed by people you can't see. There's a UAV that's built into the game that you can see people shooting in. There's a lot of really cool features that really does make this the kind of BR that I didn't think was possible to make. Go ahead.
I was playing Destiny 2 yesterday.
Okay.
And that was one frustrating thing of the PvP in that is, you kind of work through and get all these different guns, and there's a big difference, even though they even the levels out between the players. Like, there's guns where I can sit and unload a full clip on somebody and it does about half of the damage, where they have weapons that sit there and one-shot you. Like, they're not doing anything special. Like, they somehow one-shot you with a weapon. That's frustrating. It's frustrating if it's like, well, I have to grind and I have to do all this stuff to get a weapon that's capable of doing it. Where in a game like Warzone, it sounds like, you can get, or you have weapons that are capable of doing the same damage as everyone else. It's not like they have an obvious advantage.
Yes, that's very much the case. And I'm not going to lament on it too much because I think most people have played it. But I just wanted to let you know that I'm still playing it, and I watched that PUBG video, and it's like I almost have PTSD.
Yeah.
in some form or another. It's you just remember all of the, I'm glad I got this gear, and dead.
Yep.
Time and time.
Looting.
Dead. Not even long enough to even know that you're dead. You're dead.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that there's a lot of games that have really changed. I think that's been the big change in BR style games over the past 6 months to a year, is going to ones where there's not the one-shot kills anymore. If you look at Apex, for instance, they have a lot of ways for you to recover.
Yep.
I think that personally, I think Fortnite is what kind of started this whole trend because of the building and ways, because that was new at that time, if you remember.
Oh yeah, well, it's still new.
We were playing.
Does anybody else do that?
H1Z1. That no one else was doing it at that time.
Nobody's doing it now.
No, not the building, but I'm talking about ways to mitigate to where it's not a one-shot kill.
Gotcha.
H1Z1 was all about the one got shot kills.
Yep, 100%.
That's how you show that you're a pro. Headshot. And they were doing that, and people was always speculating, are they using aimbot?
There's no way to know.
And same thing with PUBG. You could get headshot. You could have full armor. It seems like we'd have times where I have full armor, I have everything, supposedly that makes you unable to be single shot killed. And somehow you'd get single shot killed from really far away.
Well, and it was rampant with hackers too, which is a whole
there was a ton of hackers. So you never knew exactly the cause. But now they give you a lot of these ways. Ever since Fortnite, they've started giving you ways to last longer in a game. If you use a little bit of skill, you do a couple different things. If you just stand there and take the shots, you're going to die. But they've gave you ways to escape so you could extend your gameplay. And I think that raised the required skill level to actually play the game, because you'll have people that run around and just shoot. But, for the people that really put the time into it and master the game, they will survive and they'll be shown as the better player, not just because they single shot killed somebody.
Yeah,
So I think it's more fun, I think, to play in the end.
Well, it is, and it allows you to. Okay, so one thing is obviously, Brian, if you're playing with a group, there's nothing worse than getting knocked out early and you just having to sit there. That's the biggest thing with BRs that always really griped my ass was, I am not very good. The total transparency here, I suck, and I get wiped early because I'm not very good. And then I have to sit in Discord and just listen to people play for 25 minutes. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Like I don't have time for that. I don't want to do that. That's boring. Hey, you can browse right on your phone for 5 minutes, but 20 minutes of that? No. And Call of Duty, you are literally always seconds away from getting back in. And at no point throughout this whole thing have I ever been at a point where I have sat there for probably more than 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, without my teammates either buying me back in or in such an intense gunfight that they ended up dying anyway. And
I think that's another
thing
that we've seen too is, having, they put it in Fortnite, they've got in all these different games where now you have the ability to revive people, not just like in PUBG to where, they land in front of you, if you can get there, lift them up, but have it be to where even past that point, you have the ability to go somewhere, regenerate the player. They did it in Apex. They've done it. They do it in Fortnite now. They have it in Warzone. I think that has also helped a lot to where it makes your game feel more fulfilling. Because that was one of the things about PUBG that was just so frustrating was, as you said, you sit there and then you have to wait and watch them for the rest of the game. If you're streaming, that's a nightmare. You're then watching someone else, while you're streaming, you're having all the people watching your channel watch someone else play, to keep the action going. I think that they've done a good job with the past year and a half of BRs kind of pulling the features from each other. And as I said last week, I think that these guys are all trying to fight for being that top BR, the pinnacle, the BR that kind of puts a cherry on top of BRs. And then hopefully we'll start seeing some other genres come in and hit streaming a little bit, because it's still BR.
Yeah, I'm liking it. I'm really liking it, which is not, I've never been a BR fan.
Yeah.
So,
well, and if Warzone can do that and make it enjoyable and have it not feel like the grind, because that's our complaint about BRs. It's not that BRs suck. There's just a certain pattern and kind of things you have to do in a BR that it's just like, oh, I have to do this again. If they can make it not feel like that, like the zone closing in and then the old airdrops they used to have in H1Z1 and all that.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, ugh.
Well, they've got that other mode too. They've got that cash mode, which is called Plunder, where you have to collect $1 million cash, and there's unlimited respawn. So that's a lot of fun as well. Yeah.
Well, and more and more of the BRs are doing that. Fortnite has a mode like that now where you're like constantly respawning in. Warzone has that mode. I think you're going to see to where BR isn't the only thing. It's a mode, which this should have happened a while ago. I don't know why everything's been so focused on BR, where BR should be a playlist item. Just like you have Team Deathmatch, you have all these other things. BR should be just one of those. It shouldn't be the whole kit and caboodle like we've seen up until recently. So I think it's important to have it to where you can play other things. When you load into the game, you're not just doing the same thing every time. If it's in a game mode and it's just one of the extra things, you won't feel like, okay, I'm doing the same thing. You'll actually feel like it's a variety. Absolutely. So we'll see.
Could not agree more.
So, well, do you want to run through some of these games really quick?
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to get the game giveaway stuff going.
Oh, I forgot about the game giveaway. Let me see. Let's talk about something here. But while Brian gets that set up, let's talk about 7 Days to Die real quick. And we've got a new weapon in here, and a new top tier weapon, a new handgun, which is cool. And this looks like a standard 9mm handgun, but it's got a weird leather twine grip thing on the bottom of it, which is pretty neat. So that's a new weapon that's going to be coming, and you can also mod this gun. So you can see on this, there's a scope, a suppressor, and some sort of laser or red dot sight thing at the bottom of it there, and that's going to be part of that's a new gun that is coming to the game, and it is a top tier handgun, and it's coming in Alpha 19. So that'll be out here hopefully sooner rather than later. And yeah,
it seems like they've been doing these a lot faster lately. The alphas. I mean, because they had that one, was Alpha 17 that was just forever. And so I think that they've really turned it around and actually started putting these out a little bit faster. So
yeah.
All right.
So yeah, that's 7 days, and I think that's pretty important because the pistols are very important in the game. The good guns. The ammo is so rare that you don't ever shoot them. There's plenty of pistol ammo. So a new top tier pistol that you can either craft or find could be pretty effective against killing the stragglers.
Very good. All right. So for the game giveaway, I'm going to be giving away a copy of Ancestors Legacy. This is currently a $35 game. So trying to get the name in here correctly, but it's strategy medieval RTS historical real-time game. It has mostly positive. And if you want to enter for that exclamation point giveaway, we'll give that away here before the end of the show here in just a little bit. But it seems like it's got good graphics, looks like fun gameplay. It's got 40 single player missions, and also looks like it has some online co-op that you can do as well. So an online PvP.
Yeah, there you go. Check it out.
We'll give that away here soon. Thank you very much. All right. Well, let's go ahead. Should we just kind of run through some of these different things now?
Yeah. What do you got?
We don't have a ton of time. All right. So first of all, ROE put out some patches this week. There's a video. I don't know if you want to play that really quick, but this is for one of some of the things that they've done with the lighting. We did show some screenshots before, but this is, I think, their more official change that they've done so that you can see.
Yeah.
So you can see a lot of the lighting changes just to make it to where a little more realistic. Doesn't look so drab. You actually have things inside. So this is in their current patch they did on March 19th.
Mm-hmm.
They've also added a new game mode that we discussed. We talked about them doing a team deathmatch in ROE, and that's something that is now in game, so you can go ahead and go in there. Also, that real-time dynamic global illumination that you're seeing on the screen, you can turn that on in your settings. It's only available for DX12, so if for some reason you're running an old video card or something and you can't run DX12, you won't have that option, but they have an off, medium, or a high setting that you can do. Also, they have a badge collection event that you can do to get some special skins. It goes through April 8th. So if you want to participate in that, you can. They have their spring supply box event that they're doing that goes through April 8th as well. And then they did a couple of bug fixes in this patch. They put out a hot fix after that. And this was on March 21st. And that was just pretty much setting up that team deathmatch limited time mode that they did. So they just pretty much changed the availability of that to have a little more of extended time. So it's just a quick patch to do that. And they did some optimizations for that. So the team deathmatch mode should be fully in the game now. So you should go check it out.
And that'll be bigger. That'll be, for more than anything else, that'll be useful for obviously honing how that game feels and how you're supposed to shoot, and just every one of these games has got their own little bit, their own little tweaks. So that should be super beneficial for that. Before we get into any more,
one of the things I was going to mention too, that does correlate with the thing that we were just talking about, as far as BRs need to start incorporating other game modes or add a BR as an additional game mode on things they already have. Because as they're finding, I mean, ROE was a one-trick pony. All it had was BR. And I think they're finding that you want to keep people interested in the long term, keep them playing, give them more game modes. All in the same, that people will use it for their own advantage of learning to become better shots and all those other things. But they're finding that people do want other game modes. They don't want just a BR and that's it.
Yeah, agreed. I want to talk about quickly something. I wish we had more time, but we'll talk about it in the future. Life Alyx that just came out, Brian. I don't know if you've seen anything about this.
I've seen some of the kind of short clips of video. And things like that.
So we talked about this a couple months ago when this first got announced. But from everything that I've read, and I'll just play a little bit of video here. We'll talk over it. This is from Shroud's live stream. Everybody is saying that this is the first full feature VR game that they have ever played. You can see them, right? You can interact with every single object in the world. Cups, trash cans, boxes, you can pick them all up. You can do anything. You can do anything that you want with this game. You can drag sandbags around. In this case, he's just dragging around a dead corpse. That's what you can do. It's a full-fledged, full-featured VR game, and one that I've seen a lot of positive notes about. That, hey, this is an actual game, which has been my biggest criticism for the longest time. Is
for VR, yeah, they all been like Chomsky style gimmicks.
I'm not against games like Beat Saber or Sword Slasher 83 or whatever these other games are, but I'm not going to spend all of this money. And by the way, I now have a rig I can use for VR, which is neat. But I'm not going to spend all this money on this VR setup. I'm not going to dedicate this space to this setup and not look. In this case, he's literally just picking up a random box from the world. I'm not going to spend all that money for Guitar Hero in VR. I can play Guitar Hero on my Nintendo Wii if I want.
Or Beat Saber. Yeah.
Yeah, which is essentially what it is. Beat Saber is essentially Guitar Hero. I mean, that's what it is. It's a beat following game, and it's a workout, and it's good for you. I'm not saying you shouldn't be doing that, but that is those are some of the things that that you want, and I'm glad that they did it. Steam Valve did it.
Rat that he just shot, is that
yes
in there?
Oh yeah. I mean, you can do anything in this. It's completely. And it's not the longest story in the world, but it's a full game.
This is going to be the type of technology that actually pushes the envelope a little bit, because, I mean, if you can create an incredibly detailed world, like something,
he's like fondling a little nub thing here on some growth.
Well, if you can do this in something like GTA 6, as far as I'm picking something that will be a very large, detailed world, to where you can pretty much do anything. They have it to where you can go and open any door, you can lift up anything, try to climb up on anything, get into rooms that you think, they don't intend for you to get into. I think that is going to be another step, and that's going to be huge for VR to make it where it's actually playable. Because up to this point, VR doesn't have games. I mean, we demoed VR in Boston is one of the first things we did at our first PAX. And if you look at the comparison of the quality of that game that Lance played versus this game, night and day difference.
Oh yeah, not even comparable.
I mean, look at the level of detail, and I mean the other one was just like a little gimmicky thing, like what you saw come with like a new console or something. This is actually a full featured game. Yeah. It looks pretty cool. I mean, this is the kind of thing that would make me tempted to get a VR headset.
Yeah, and I now have the ability to. I've got my old computer, which is still a pretty good machine. It's a i7 from a couple of years ago and a GTX 960. Now, is it the perfect VR rig? No, but it could be relatively easily modified into being that. So, yeah, a game like this got me super interested. I don't think I'm going to bite the bullet right at this, given the current circumstances, but this game has me interested very much.
Well, I mean, hey, VR will be the new way that you go to parties.
I don't go to parties anyway, so I mean.
Well, you could go to a club. You don't have to actually interact with it.
You want to know? Actually, Brian, the last time I was at a club, it was with you, and it did not end well. So I'm good.
That is true.
I will pass.
That was the.
So yeah, there's Half-Life Alyx. There's a lot of videos on YouTube, just kind of showing it off. If you're planning on playing it, don't spoil it for yourself. But cool to see. Valve full featured VR game. Not many of them out there.
They are working on things, in the background. Valve has a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so this will be, I mean, for instance, do you see, what's the Portal?
Yeah,
we haven't heard too much about Portal. Do you think that this is going to be, you'll have this one, you'll have Portal. I think they're going to put out probably a couple different sets of the top tier VR games, because they just announced, what was it, HP? I think Valve and HP are working together on a new headset. HP is based out of Boise here, so I see a lot of HP stuff. But if you look at that, like, it sounds like they're trying to create the reason for you to go and buy their headset.
Yeah, of course.
And so if they can show it off, like, here's the game, it comes with this awesome game. I mean, if they really wanted to do it, just make Alyx be almost or make a game like Portal be exclusive that you give with their headset. You'll have tons of people buy that one specifically because they want to get that game.
Yeah, agree.
So we'll see.
Yes, sir.
All right, Jaws of Extinction. Now, they put out a patch this past week, and this is a pretty big patch. We've talked about some of the different things that they've done over time with their game, but if you look at this one is quite a serious patch. This is their 0.2.23.0a. Also, they have in it 0.2.23.3a. So they have a couple of them here, but I'd say it's probably about 5 pages of patch notes. You think?
Pretty long. Yeah.
Tons of bug fixes. I'm just gonna go over some of the areas that they've worked on. First of all, they did optimize body parts in the clothing system because how you put clothes on a character can be very inefficient if done incorrectly. So they've gone through and kind of reworked that. They've added a character to the character selection screen. They've added hoodies, jackets, and sneakers that you can scrap for resources in game. They did a big list of fixes. They've been improving some of the physics in the game, optimizing some of the performance as well. They've adjusted a lot of the player details like the camera and the third person way that it works. They've been working on the NPCs. They've also tweaked a lot of the items in game, the environment in game. They've been working on the vehicles. They reintroduced the quad, the ATV, into the game. And then they upgraded the Unreal Engine to 4.24.3, which I think is current, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Current one that's actually released. So then they've also worked on some things with the UI. So definitely making a bunch of improvements. It's good to see a game that visually it's done very well. It's pretty cool. When you played the game and there's a lot of clutter and a lot of stuff to make it difficult to optimize, but they're definitely working on it. And hopefully this will be one of those games that could be a really cool open world survival game if they get it to the point where they're wanting to.
It could be, but I will remind you and just give a warning to everybody. It is a long way from there.
Yeah.
With no clear track to there, but there's at least a game.
I think for them, they really need to, I know they're trying to get to the point, but the multiplayer is going to be the big.
Oh yeah.
Can they pull that off? Can they do it to where it runs well? Because the multiplayer is going to be probably the most difficult part for them.
Yeah, and that's the most important part. Because single player is great, but single player is great for a couple of hours.
Yeah,
not for
you need to get it to where the multiplayer feels good.
Yes, sir.
So that's
absolutely
going to be it. All right, Arc also put out a bunch of patches this week.
Okay,
so I'm just going to run through those really quick. Now their 307.2 was done on March 13th, but they changed version numbers. So what's kind of weird is it's like they redid their version numbers on there, because it was like 307.02, which is not the same as .2, because that's a .20. And so this is one that I think we had covered before, so I'm not going to cover that. And that was a pretty long one. That was a big update, but that's 307.2. Now 307.4, I think this is also one that they redid the version number for, and that was they fixed a crash with the bog spider. I remember we had covered that. 307.42, now this is the 16th, so I think they're now to the point of where we were last week. They fixed an invulnerability exploit with Ferox, fixed cooldown time with the mind wipe, and the fixed server crash. 307.43, now this would be right after the show. So they fixed an invulnerability exploit. 307.56. This was a pretty big patch they did on the 20th. First of all, the PvP official servers wiped the following: tech suits, mechs, and cluster grenades.
Purposely?
Yes, because I think that there was a bug in there that probably people were creating those in ways they shouldn't have. So they wiped them. So official server Genesis wiped all of the tamed Reapers. So if you had a Reaper, all of those have been wiped.
Rest in peace.
Yep. Any tamed mech or Reapers that was in a cryopod now cannot be spawned without deploying that cryopod. You can either let it expire or throw them out. Tech suits, they've tweaked and changed, increasing the repair costs and such. Tech suits repair costs now scale with quality. The mechs, they've gone through and adjusted the damage and things for those. They rebalanced the bog spiders. They rebalanced the Pelagornis, the rhino. They adjusted cluster grenades. Cluster fragments, if shot by a turret, will now detonate all other fragments from the same originating grenade. The fabricator, you can now craft the tech replicator. And it has been removed from loot crates in Genesis. Mind wipe initiated a one-time force respec of all characters on official servers. Initiated a one-time force mind wipe cooldown clearance of all characters on official servers. They added a grind all function to the grinders. They added an optional visual indicator for the tech trough radius. Gotchas now no longer auto consume buff or soup food. And then they disabled cryo sickness on PvE official servers. And then you can also turn that off with a new setting on unofficials. And then some bug fixes. 307.59. They fixed a bug which prevented players from seeing Primitive Plus servers, and they fixed an issue with crafting costs on tech items. And then 307.7, this was on the 22nd, so 2 days ago, they fixed a bug which prevented the Moeder boss fight from initiating correctly. So a lot of fixes and tweaks and changes since their new expansion they put out. But looks like it's kind of settled down and a lot of those little issues have been fixed.
Very cool. Let's take a quick look at everybody's favorite, Ylands, also known as Ylands, which is made by the game company we talked about earlier, Bohemia Interactive. $68 million profit this year, last year rather. This is their 1.2 update. They're calling it Astonishing Adventures, and there's a couple new things that they've added here. They've added some fantasy assets for you to be able to recreate fantasy things. I don't know, Brian, maybe a little Harry Potter action going on here. I
should create that mod right away.
Yeah, you just quit your day job and become a Yland mod.
Okay, a Yland developer.
They've added some new creatures. They've added golems, okay, goat men, woolly rhinos, and a couple of other people. They've added elves, which are now elves. NPCs are now in the game. They added particle editing, so you can now change, edit, or create new particles, which is neat for their particle system, which is super cool, by the way. They've got some editor improvements. They've made many quality of life changes to the editor, if you're all into that. And then platform improvements, the ability to create 20-plus multiplayer games or single-player games with persistent data saved across sessions. So you can now have a group game, it looks like, and actually save that data, and then a bunch of numerous fixes. And I believe there's a little trailer here that we can take a look at for this update as well.
Hello, Islanders, and welcome to Update 1.2, Astonishing Adventures. We have some exciting things to show you. The whole update has a fantasy feel to it, but while there are new assets and creatures in exploration and available to creators, we also have some cool improvements to the editor. But enough chit-chat, and let's dive in. So first off, we have the creatures and NPCs, and boy are they something. We have elves, golems, goatmen, and more, so look out for them in random encounters and add them to your custom games. We also have brand new fantasy assets with which you'll be able to enrich your games and which you'll find in random encounters in exploration. The new compositions will also give you a head start when creating a fantasy setting game. So no need on creating an elaborate castle, just plop the ready-made one and off to script and create other stuff. And finally, the editor got some really great improvements, especially the terrain tools, with Flatten working much better, and the performance while editing terrain has been considerably optimized. But also the UI got a huge overhaul, making it friendlier to beginners and more intuitive to experienced creators. You'll also be able to publish your creations from inside the editor now, make 20-player multiplayer games, turn off persistent avatars, and much, much more. And that's Update 1.2. What are you going to create?
All right, Brian, what are you going to create?
I don't know. I think Harry Potter RP sounds like an excellent.
Now,
starter.
I understand that what programming language do you currently work in at work the most?
C#.
So I know C# is a good LinkedIn thing to put on your profile, but have you ever thought about becoming proficient in Ylands and adding that to your LinkedIn profile?
Ylands visual scripting, like I am in Unreal Engine visual scripting.
You could say, hey, why should you hire me? Because I made a Harry Potter mod in Ylands, also known as Ylands.
Who cares that my primary programming language is, made by probably
Bohemia Interactive.
Well, no. But C# is used by not Unreal, by what's the
Unity?
other main one? Unity. Unity is C#. Unreal is C++. And of course, who knows what in the world Ylands is?
But Ylands visual editor,
visual scripting is its own thing.
I mean, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life, Brian. You're an adult. But if I were you, I would put a heavy investment into Ylands visual scripting as a resume builder.
Yeah, I'll have to start working on that on nights and weekends.
Yeah, I mean, you got plenty of time now.
Yeah.
so there you go. So there's a Ylands update. Cool stuff. The terrain editor seems super neat. It looked kind of like World Machine inside of the game. Obviously, it's not World Machine, but similar features to World Machine in that it looked relatively easy to play around with, but it just didn't have that pull. We played it for a little while. It wasn't.
And for me, having something that's more of that multiplayer, like where they're talking about in this, being able to do a 20-person game that actually works correctly, if they can get people making things in this, and it sounds like they're improving the tools to do that, I think that's when it'll take off, but it's going to take them a while to get there.
Yep. And then they've also got their roadmap, which I forgot to download the video for. But
okay, so let me.
Can we show?
That
can we
is
show
not
the picture?
talking about the. You can't. It's them just telling people to stay inside and be safe. The video.
Jesus. Okay,
it's
I'm glad.
not actually about. Yeah, it's just them. They're in game being in a little room saying to, stay safe by yourself.
Oh, great.
Whatever.
I'm not gonna heed the advice of the CDC. I'm gonna heed the advice of Ylands, which is by the way, anybody that's saying stay inside that's not a government organization needs to shut the hell up. Like, I'm not taking my. Like, if I was like, oh man, maybe I'll venture out today, I was like, oh no, I watched the Ylands video where they said stay inside. Now, even though my health officials say stay inside, now that Ylands has said it, Brian, I can't even think about leaving my house. It's incomprehensible for me. So let's take a look at this roadmap real quick. Coming up, is what we just saw was update 1.2, but coming up in May is Watery Water, which will hopefully include some sea creatures and looks like some scuba diving gear, and then update 1.4, which is coming soon. And
but one thing, and they'll add some additional like tameable and rideable animals in that as well, which they have horses and things in there now. But I think if they can keep adding content like this, which is really just adding more tools for people to make their own kind of things, that you'll see, because editor, they're adding like the editor wizard, they're adding editor UI improvements, editor improvements. Like, they need to keep putting those in there every single time, and then also adding a bunch of assets for people to work with and creating things. Maybe at some point it will.
Yes, sir.
So
all
right, so another one that, Rocket League, I'm just going to really quickly.
Yes, sir.
They put out a patch, but it was just bug fixes and things like that, changes to controls and settings, nothing major, no huge amount of features added in there. One thing you can do that's a difference is between Steam, Nintendo, and the Nintendo Switch, players can now send more than 3 messages during a private or wireless match when the match is paused. I don't know why, but for some reason they couldn't send more than 3 messages.
That was killing me. Personally, why I haven't been playing it on the Switch.
Yeah, I know. So now you don't have to worry about that anymore. You can all start playing Rocket League again. Another one is Dead by Daylight, Nick's first or second or third favorite game. Who knows?
Stock's way down.
Okay, stocks are down on Dead by Daylight.
Yeah,
but they did a patch that's pretty much going through and doing balancing and bug fixes. They did add the Dead Dog Saloon, so they have been reworking that map, kind of fixing some things on that. And then tweaking some of the perks as well. So not a major patch, but more of we added features, now we got to fix them.
And I will say, for the record, I have not reinstalled Escape from Tarkov. So
just congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Proud of you.
We ready to go into current players?
I think we are. All
right. Well, let's take a look at some video games and some number of people that are playing said video games. Let's look at DayZ real quick. Currently playing 12,711, 24-hour peak, 21,384, with a 70 peak of 24,849. Taking a look over at everybody's favorite, Ark Survival Evolved, currently playing 62,000, 102,673. The 24-hour peak, 102,107, with a 24-hour peak, with a 7-day peak of 123,048. Rust edging out right now Arc over current players. Currently playing 63,477. The 24-hour peak, 90,719, with the 7-day peak of 100,207. Let's take a look at Unturned, which is on a real upswing here. Currently playing 19,036. The 24-hour peak, 42,573. And that's also the 70 peak as we are speaking here today. So a lot of people jumping on Unturned. Great news there. And finally, we haven't talked about them in a while, Atlas, everybody's favorite. 2,630 people currently playing. The 24-hour peak, 3,495, with the 7-day peak a measly 4,272. And that is current players, people that are currently playing video games. So there you go.
Still waiting to see if Atlas is going to ever, who knows?
Yeah, my prediction was wrong, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that
December?
time has passed, but they seem like they're just doing the let's not do anything mentality instead.
I tried that approach at work and I got fired. I don't understand. I think that something tells me that approach doesn't work very well. Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and it's going to tip of the week.
Yeah, I think I gave tip of the week in the earlier. What was I didn't I give a tip of the week? Oh yeah, but Totino's Pizza.
You
don't. I mean, I don't think. Do we need to do this?
We don't have to if you don't want to.
We can do that.
Okay.
Sure.
All right, we'll do this time. And either I give a general gaming tip or one for a specific game. This time I'm actually giving a general gaming tip, which I don't.
Oh, jeez, I can only imagine.
So this is tip of the week. All right. So one thing I wanted to kind of encourage is to remain social. You know, we do that, I think, for us because we play video games online and we do all of this. It's easy for us to sit there and remain social because a lot of us being social is online with people that are far away. But you have a lot of people that's not what they're used to. So one thing that I've done the last couple of days is, well, first of all, people are leaving their comfort zone. People are staying inside. They're not having that social interaction. They're not going to work. And so one thing that I have done is made a point to kind of reach out to people around me that have been possibly negatively affected by this and just kind of touch base with them and letting them know that I'm thinking about them, taking a few minutes to reach out and, you know, for the person that could be struggling, and hopefully something like that will help make it a little more bearable because this is something that for some people, they've lost jobs. They're worried about them losing their jobs, things like that. And I think that maybe in this time, just take a moment to think of some of those people, reach out, because right now it's easy to be kind of caught in your own little bubble, your own little world. And I think that it'd be important for you to turn around and maybe reach out and let someone know so that maybe they won't struggle quite so much. So that is tip of the week.
Well, you didn't reach out to me at all, but I mean, it's fine.
I talk to you all the time.
Bull. I haven't heard from
these are local people. These are local people.
I haven't heard.
You told me you don't like to talk to me throughout the week.
That's not what I never said.
That is exactly what you said. You said those exact words to me. So
no, I've never. I couldn't even contemplate thinking of saying something like that.
So
you're right. It's true. We can't talk during the week, but it's fine.
We can't because it messes up. We end up doing a show on the phone or in chat.
Yeah, literally. I'll be like driving. I'll be like, hey, Brian, quick question for you. Hey, did you hear that video game? No, I didn't hear that video game.
It will be an hour in.
Yeah. I'm like, all right.
So anyways,
thanks, Brian, what's the game given? It's just like we're doing the show over the phone. It's stupid.
So how many people are playing Ark this week?
Yeah.
Anyways, so but this is something that for me, because there's people that work in a lot of different industries to where it's like they are probably in a very stressful time. There's some of us that were able to continue on like normal. And it's a little bit stressful. I mean, it is a stressful time, but it's less stressful for us because we're not having to think about our jobs and all that. So just reach out and maybe reach out and just say, hey, how you doing? Is everything going all right? Because that may be enough to kind of make someone's day and make it to where they're not thinking about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's honestly what we are, what we're hoping to do here on the program as well.
Yep. And this is something where we want to continue this because for some people, maybe they'd be listening to this at work. Well, now they can listen to it maybe while they're doing their first set of yard work.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
All right. We ready for this game giveaway?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Let's close and draw. Congratulations to MDC 357.
Yeah.
I will send you a key for this. Hopefully you enjoy it. And if there's ever a game that people win and you really enjoyed it, make sure you let us know, because a lot of the games I give away, I haven't actually played. So this way I actually know if they're any good, so I can recommend them to other people.
Awesome. And if you are, obviously a lot of people are home and will be over the next couple of weeks. And if you want to join us here live, you can do so. We're here live every Tuesday, most Tuesdays, at 7 p.m. Eastern right here on Twitch. We're also multicast on Mixer and YouTube Live, so you can join in on that. And if you're in your car, you can actually load up the Twitch app or the YouTube app, the Twitch app, and put it in audio-only mode, which will use a very limited amount of bandwidth, and you can listen to the show when you're on the go, as well as all of our podcast versions as well. So hopefully you'll join us for that. And our Discord, which has been incredibly active the past couple of weeks. I took a screenshot, Brian. Let me see if I can find this screenshot. I took a screenshot. I think it was Saturday night. See if I can find this real quick. Go ahead and do your outro. I'll find this and bring it up before we get out of here.
If you want to find me at Boise Computer on Twitter, of course, my blog, biteoftech.com, that's with an I. Also, you can go to our website, infectionpodcast.com. If you look on the right-hand side there's a button that says join our server on Discord. And this is something, and if you do that, you can get access to the news channel. You can get access to a couple different things that allow you to submit topics. Also, if you want to participate in the game of the weeks that we do and different games that we're playing, that's an excellent place to do that. It's kind of our main hub for communicating with everyone. If you want to get notifications before the live show starts, you can join our Steam group. We do that about 10-15 minutes before the show starts. We also have our YouTube, our Twitch, and our Mixer channels if you want to watch the video. One thing you can do is if you want to listen to the audio only on a mobile device or something like that, you can do that with our podcast form, and that's an audio only on the lower right-hand side. And then show notes now for 271 episodes of the show. So if you want to go and look at any of the things that we've discussed, they'll all be there. You can also support us by going to amazon.infectionpodcast.com, humble.infectionpodcast.com, or giving us your Twitch Prime subs, which we really appreciate because they add up through the year. And that is one of the most beneficial things that you could do for us. So thank you very much.
Yes, sir. And so I took this picture on... let's see, what night was this? This was Friday at 11:55 p.m. This is what our Discord looked like Friday night at almost midnight Eastern time. We had 3 people playing Game of the Week, 4 people in Ark, and 3 other people in Tarkov. So, and that's kind of what our intention, our goal has always been with our Discord and our community, and that was awesome to see. So midnight Friday night, we've got almost a dozen people hanging out in Discord, which is super freaking cool. So
very good,
Brian. Thank you as always. Appreciate everything, and we'll see you here. We'll see you here. Well, what are we doing are we doing Game of the Week?
Well, we could do what we did before. Maybe have a game but if people want to play whatever game, just get into a channel and let's play.
I'll be playing some Call of Duty on Friday night, Warzone, and or the Purge mode, Payola mode, whatever it's called. So hopefully you'll join us for that. So Brian, we'll see you Friday for that, and then next Tuesday for another episode of the show. Alrighty, folks, that's Brian. Alrighty, folks, that's gonna do it for another episode of Infection, the Survival Podcast. My name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. I got a new article up on Dude and IT coming up tonight. Hopefully you'll check it out, dudeandit.com, and of course our website, infectionpodcast.com. That's going to do it, everybody. Thank you so much. Have a great week. Stay safe. Don't travel out of your house if you don't need to. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next time.